Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this conversation. My name is Nuraini Juliastuti, part of Kunci Study Forum and Collective in Yogyakarta, Indonesia, and recently part of Amsterdam School of Cultural Analysis, University of Amsterdam as well. Welcome to this conversation. This second roundtable discussion titled Curating Against Oblivion is part of the conversation series, Now Water Can Flow, it can crash, my friend, organized by Framer Frame in Amsterdam in collaboration with the Amsterdam School of Cultural Analysis. The series started with a big question on how art practices and social movement can be used as lenses through which we can reimagine our relation with the state, the communities, and also our sustainable future. Today we have three speakers, Chen Hong Huang, Darquen Wu, and Bina Choi. Welcome. For the next couple of hours, using specific curatorial projects as study cases, Chen Hong, Darquen, and Bina will guide us to reflect on curatorial projects embedded in art institutions and how they can serve as platforms for resistance and remembrance and suppressed narratives. As one of the frameworks for our discussion today, and one thing to think about for all of us here, the audience as well, is how we can use the examples and various points of historical trajectories presented here to form a kind of translocal and transnational alliances. So let's start our discussion. To structure the discussion, Darquen will start the presentation, followed with Bina, and then Chen Hong. Each has 15 to 20 minutes presentation. And after finish all the presentations, we will all take time to reflect on the discussions through an open discussions. So before giving the floor to Darquen, I will read short bio of Darquen. Darquen is a senior curator of Taiwan Contemporary Culture Lab, C-Lab, previously served as the director of Taipei Artist Village and Treasure Hill Artist Village, founding director of Taiwan Art Space Alliance, and also the curator of Gwangju Museum of Fine Arts. Darquen focuses on art as a means to reflect on social political aspects of Asian culture, globalization, and neoliberalism. Among lots of Darquen's curatorial works, I just mentioned here briefly some study cases that I hope Darquen will talk about during his presentation. Asia Anarchy Alliance, and double echoing. So without further ado, Darquen, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, thank you, Nunin, for your kindly introductions, and good evening, everyone online. Yeah, and this is really my honor can share with you guys for my previous curatorial process, and also my personal background with the engage with some like movements in Taiwan and in Asia. So I would like to share my screen to all of you. Then, okay. Yeah, and today I would like to set my presentation's title as the activism of the artist and crowd. because since I think since the 2000 years and geographically in Taiwan or East Asia, actually we have a lot of things to rethink about it. Then and back to the history background of Taiwan and between the China and the first island chains, actually a lot of things is kind of all related together. So for today's, I will talk about the few exhibition I involved and also some movement as a one of the joiner, and I can share with you guys. And the first exhibition I would like to share with you is the this one, Republic Without People. And actually, this exhibition was held by Kaohsiung Museum of Fine Art. It's the second big city in Taiwan and was happened in 2011. And that year actually is the 100 years of the Taiwan, actually, which is called Republic of China, the official name of Taiwan. Then People's Republic of China, we all know that's that's mentioned to the mainland China. Yeah, so this exhibition is kind of raise the question about the Taiwan's identity and also the ideologies. Yeah, because we're trying to ask who I am and what is for the Taiwanese artist. And in April 23rd, this exhibition and also as a nation, as a fusional nation, yeah, and was is established in Kaohsiung City Museum. So we have our design, the national flag, and for this ceremony, it's not only the opening of the exhibition, it's kind of founding established ceremony for these fictional nations. So all I think we invited more than 40 artists from Taiwan and from like youngest about like 20s and the oldest about like 16s, and to all participate this exhibition, then to rethink about their thought of the country and the nation and what is the identity of Taiwan. So we also make the you can see this is like ID, but actually this is an invitation for the exhibition and also the passport covers. Yeah, and I would like to share with you a short video clip, and thus this exhibition will be nominated for the Taishan Art Award.
People,
So luckily, next year, this exhibition also gets the Taishan Art Award, the jury's prize. Then after we curate this exhibition, and we find out actually it's a lot of common issue or common problems truly globalism or influence each other. So we next project was the Asia Anarchy Alliance. Yeah, so I would like to open the the perspective to the East Asia or other countries. So also following this concept, the Republic without people join this Asia Anarchy Alliance. Then we invited others, artist collective or fictional countries among Asia. So Xi Jinmen, they are from China, Japan, and South Korea. Then new government of Japan, that's the artist collective from Japan after the March 11th, tsunamis in Japan. So everything changes a lot. So with this project, actually, I applied the funding from the Taiwan's National Cultural Affair, and I got a grant and did a research in Tokyo. And with these 2 years, then we have the first exhibition and showing in Wonderside in Tokyo. Then this project also can be moved back to Taiwan. So this is kind of like a dual exhibition and also that's the first kind of like curatorial project and supported by the National Cultural Affair in Taiwan. So I have other video clip I can share with you.
Felipe guy, say something. Felipe guy.
我们要找个地方一边泡脚一边吃饭。how degree is the most rate? 100 degree. I need 100 degree. 100 degree? Yes, with whiskey and sushi.
Okay, so actually this background music was created by the Taiwanese indie band Fire X. And later on, I also will mention about any other movement we cooperation together, but not for this exhibition. Then the map, maybe you can notice, actually this is the map of the Tokyo Bay, and you can see this. Actually, I find the blue map from the old bookshop in Tokyo, and at that moment, actually, I think we comes up an idea and try to use the whole Tokyo city, the metropolitan city, as the exhibition background, and we kind of trying to make the Tokyo Alliance map and try to make the many things that can happen in different places, including the artist studio, alternative space, commercial gallery, and even for the Art Fair Tokyo. Yeah, so all these things will combine together, and we also make passport, and that's the audience they can follow in the passport as a guide to each place. And so this manifesto is the MOU we signed with the three fictional countries, and try to make this alliance, fake alliance, to establish and as the statements for these exhibitions. So now I will make the slide much quickly. Yeah, and this is kind of like a daily process what we did done for the exhibition, and a lot of it's like my diary or the diary, and we passing through, and of course some kind of production meetings. Then at the end in 2014 March 8th, then we kind of getting together in the Wonderside, and the director of the Wonderside, Imamura-san, he suggested us to occupy the gallery space, the whole institutions. So we did it. Then and all the things is kind of happen in the same time. So, and this is any other media play. Then come back to Taiwan, and in the Gwangju Museum, which is a Jian Hong, now he working with it. Yeah. So I would like to make correct. Sorry, because the indie band, the name they are sorry use. Actually, they are really talented Taiwan indie band. And then in 2014 in Taiwan, we also have a very important, social movement, which is called the Sunflower Movement. Maybe some of you knows about it, because that's the first time Taiwanese students, they taking the national Congress, then for 23 days. Then at that time, actually our production team or curatorial team, we just came back from Tokyo, but suddenly this movement happened, and at the beginning we don't know what to do or how to help those students. But one day I get the message from one artist, Chen Jinyuan, and he was in the legislature in downtown Taipei City, and he says there's one indie band called Fire Estate. They want to make the new song to encourage the students in the national parliament. So in 1 week, we made this song happen, and trying to upload to the YouTube, then try to get encourage more people came to join the one biggest event at March 13th in front of the our present house. Yeah, so at the end, actually this Island Sunrise, the song become one of the symbol icon of this movement. Yeah, so this is what I'm trying to share with you, the background story. So we make the 3 music video, but today because of time limit, so I will share with you and from the link. Yeah, so with the documentary MV and also animation department from the university, they make this another version of music video. Then we also make the international version for the put on the English text and put all the melody, everything, and that's all. Everything is come by the volunteers, and nobody, get any payments. Yeah, for this movement. So after this kind of like background story happened, then we finally, this exhibition came done in the Gwangju Museum. So at the May 16th, the Asia Anarchy Alliance also occupied the KD Mofa again. Yeah, so that's the view what we done, and yeah, I was just showing the slide with you. With this is the work for the Aida Makoto and Sakayu Yuji Kyohei, and that's the exhibition view. And the Xuanyuan Pengyu, they are artists from China. And Ishu Han, yeah, he is a mix from stay in Japan. And Dinkyu Lee Morimura, Jumpet from Indonesia, and Chen Qinyao from Taiwan. And we also invited Aida Makoto came to Gwangju Museum and to give us a workshop and lecture, and to introduce the after the nuclear power assets, and for the other things what happened in Japan. So this is the crowd for that day. So and besides of this, in 2017, we did another project Imagine Memorial. So actually, this is the very important space in downtown Taipei City, and that's the memorial hall for the Chiang Kai-shek. And that's kind of like in Taiwan, we're trying to transforming the Oslo Nation memorial into a democracy symbol. So besides of the Chiang Kai-shek memorial, two buildings on the other two sides, that's our National Theater and National Concert Hall. Two of the place, of course, that's using for the cultural purpose, but the Chiang Kai-shek memorial, which is kind of a memorial of dictatorship or other things. So these days in Taiwan, all the society, we have a lot of different voice. And for this project, we also make a lot of workshop and discussed, and we invited the young generation and coming to rethink what we can do to open the place for Taiwan citizens or even for the international visitors. So in here we have a very, very short
Darquen, we might not hear the sound quite well.
Okay. So at the end, I think I would like to show you the last project we just did for the Gwangju Biennial, the double echoing exhibition. And for this exhibition, it's kind of, we trying to combine the historical trauma and many things between Taiwan and Korea. So this is the Washington Daily and took in the 1946 and mentioned about the Chinese after the World War II, they come to Taiwan, Formosa, and they treat Taiwanese worse than Japanese they did. And this is one important Taiwanese, actually he's from China, but he made this woodcut printing and mentioned about the 228 incident. Yeah, and in 2018, the Gwangju Uprisings. Then Biennial for the place was founded at the 1995. Then ACC was founded in the 2015, and all this actually is kind of related together with the historical traumas. So our exhibition was showing at the ACC, and for us, the Gwangju Biennial's Pavilion project. So this is the site we done, and because of the Corona pandemic, so we know any artists, and also even myself, we couldn't go to Korea. So everything is through the Skype meeting and kind of installing. We hire a local team and help us to realize the whole show. And Yang Du Chen, yeah, we commissioned this project and let him to go to 4 cities in Asia, including the Gwangju, Okinawa, Kaohsiung in Taiwan, and Hong Kong. And he made this very beautiful video project. And Zhang Liren, for this project, he was thinking about it's like a DMZ in Taiwan and mainland China, which is called Gimon Island. Then he made like immersive theaters, video theater for this. Then Xu Jiawei, this project is made for the Green Island Human Rights Museum. Yeah. So we also bring this work to Gwangju, and Veoli, his project was talk about the border between the Mexican and the United States. Then while people they are suffering of it, and the young Black teenager they be treated really badly in United States. Then Wang Dingye, this project is a new commission and by C-Lab and also the Human Rights Museum. Then the artist, he read a lot of like letter from the white terrorist eras, their family letters, and come up, use the neon sign and also the word that he put on the gallery. And he always like to use a very simple sentence. For example, like my precious love, please kiss me farewell, and to say goodbye to the families and as the white terror's political presence. So this is also the view. Then the labor working gong, and they are young artist collective, but from the different background. Some of them they are choreographers, and some of them they have a fine art background and do the social studies, and they always invited the people to have the workshop first, then make this kind of wood cut print. Yeah, so this is also part of the exhibitions. And then she went to Green Island and invited the people who have been working or living there and come back to the museum, and which actually is a political jail and during the KMT times. And Chen Chaomin, and for this project, he kind of like transfer a song then into a different meanings. So this is one of the really popular works we showing and bring it to ACC. So I would do like very short conclusions. Yeah, through these days, this is some pictures we in Hong Kong. Yeah, so free Hong Kong and revolution now. That's kind of the slogan for Hong Kong's uprisings. Yeah, nowadays. But as we know, a lot of actually, a lot of artists or some people or art students, they involve and they use their very creative ways to join this kind of movement. And we think this also happened in other countries. Yeah, for example, this picture is like a party or something, but if you look deeply or closely, actually that's the crowd. They use a laser, want to engage or want to let those place not to shoot the bullets to the crowds. Yeah, and the Milk Tea Alliance. Yeah, actually at the beginning that's the Thai people. They make a joke on the internet, but they find out Hong Kong and Taiwan they can join the alliance, and nowadays I think these alliances are getting stronger and stronger and bigger. Yeah. So few simple words. Yeah, I think the artists also can join the crowd, but they can be part of it, but not be the leader, and they can transfer to different sides. So leaderless the movement and the soft leader, maybe that's now the thing, new idea of the movement, and notice the voice from the crowd. They can be we can be part of it, but no one, is really taking the movement. And this is what we learn for nowadays. And yeah, so I would like to finish my presentation here, and thank you.
Thank you, Darkwine, for very interesting presentation. I think it's very important to think about your projects, especially in the context where we witness the resurgence of authoritarian government, not only in East Asian context, but also everywhere. And there are lots of points that are that I hope to discuss further with you and the audience especially, but I pick up just to reflect on your presentation, I pick up some recurring themes that you explore in your curatorial projects, like art as a space to reimagine the state, and also the communities. And I can see there are strategies that you are using for your curatorial. I see there's a occupy, and then the idea to reversing. So for instance, you're talking about how to transform the authoritarian memorial into democracy symbol, and then at the end, in the context of double echoing, particularly, I can see that doing critical comparisons, like with what happened in Taiwan, but also trying to see it, how it, reverberates in Hong Kong and in South Korea as well. I think you are also use, it's very interesting also how you are using art as a space for meta institutional organization with the Asia Anarchy Alliance. And I noticed a couple of point of links with what you are doing with Pina's work. For instance, there are lots of sound, in your work, lots of music, and I think that's comes from the idea of how you want to provide or art and gallery as a space for immersion for the audience. So lots of thinking about language and then sound and body as well. It reminds me of Pina's recent project, curatorial project, Common Ground. And then also, I also noticed that in your works, it is very strong, trying to use museum and gallery as a space to study as well. Studying about democracy movement. And so I use that as a cue for us to move to Pina Choi's presentation. But before I give the floor to Pina, I'm going to read Pina's short bio. Pina is the director of Casco Art Institute, working for the Commons here in Utrecht, in the Netherlands. She engages with both the artistic program and the organizational and the instituting practice as her curatorial and collaborative art practice. Pina's long-term project that I'm also very familiar with is Grand Domestic Revolution, Composing the Commons, and recently she curated Traveling Farm Museum and Forgotten Skills and Common Grounds, Song Value. Without further ado, Pina, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks a lot, Nuning, for introducing me, but also Emily for organizing and inviting me here, and Darkwan, yeah, very inspiring presentation. We are missing Huang Jian. I can imagine how like his presentation could be like great connection between us. And before starting that, starting my talk, I just briefly amend a little bit in my biography. So like Common Ground and Traveling Farm Museum of Forgotten Skills and Common Ground, Song and Value. It's really hard to use the notion of curating. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not only curator. If we say about curating, so there's a Stacy Boucher, Inker, and artist collective in Leipzig called The Outsiders. But also there is like various people involved, like Mariana Taku, Eric, Alton Bohart, etc. So this is, I think, what's also happening since I start digging more and more into the commons or commoning or collective practice. It's getting messier and it's getting difficult to use existing categorization, term, and authorship. So I, yeah, so move to my talk, my subject, which is about the Gwangju lessons, the project that I've been organizing. It's in a way still ongoing. So I've been organizing in close collaboration with artist Christian Yampeta. It is to engaging with Korean democratization history over just like 50 years old long, especially in connection to 18 May Democratic Uprising that took place 1980, which Darkwang also mentioned. And in the outline of this roundtable we are in, I read this expression very meaningfully, like curating as a form of resistance and remembrance. So I was thinking like what form of resistance indeed I'm engaging with and what I'm trying to remember as an ongoing practice with this Gwangju Lessons project. And the form of resistance here taking place in form of project or like collective or collaborative art project, which resisting against contemporary art regime as we are very familiar with. So what makes contemporary art regime, in my view, is this inventfulness, inventiveness that coupled with production of artist figure, artist subjectivity as an intellectual, conceptual, critically researching author. I'm very much also indebted to this figure of artist but at the same time, I find very limiting how it can work with broad culture and people and community. And another is, of course, institution that especially like event and place that producing contemporary art regime, notably Biennale. So I had opportunity to work for Gwangju Biennale 2016 together with Maria Lind and 3 other curators, Azar, Mahmoudian, Margarita Mendes, and Michelle Wong. And yeah, despite of all our effort to do things alternatively to existing Biennale format, we were definitely overwhelmed and overwhelmed by and following after this logic of spectacle. So it was huge, many venues, over 100 artists, over like 50 site-specific new commission. So especially for me, this scale just doesn't allow me to have a meaningful connection and experience of artwork, especially when it's dealing with political history and present. And I realized deeply that by visiting the newly opened archive institution in Gwangju, newly because it was opened end of 2015, which is institution dedicated to archival material from the uprising. And I thought that visit to the archive without this contemporary critical intellectual creative authors already giving such a profound experience and connection with history of 18 May 18 May democratic uprising, which I couldn't have with art project, artists, artworks that I visited and saw before. So that's about formal resistance. And then in terms of remembrance, I was really like drawn to before and after 10 days of the uprising. So Gwangju Uprising took place, it started on 18 May, that's why it's called 18 May Democratic Uprising, or 518 in Korea, 5.18 uprising. And then it was, it proceeded toward occupation of city by the citizens and paramilitary and after all governmental military force, they withdrew in the middle of this 10 days, but in the end it was crashed by it. So it is 10 days event. Each day had a lot to tell and reveal about the struggle, resistance, and forms of organizing above all, self-organization. However, it's 10 days and still in this 2021, 40 years after, we're trying to remember this event and I felt really missing what was going on and before and after. Actually, 10 days was only possible because of the series of events, daily struggle before, and then we can remember it because of the following events. So the talk today, roundtable, also brought this World War II and Cold War as the context where in part of Asia, we talk about the political movement or democratization movement. And I was, like it brought me to think of something I didn't think about, that how this Gwangju event came about, that this area of country, South Korea, has have like ongoing historical event of rebellion and revolt. So after World War II, when Japanese colonial occupation had to withdraw through their defeat of war by US and UN alliance. In fact, there was like big allied effort between the dictatorial government and US to repress so-called like communist political actions and movement. So this whole region or province where Gwangju is located has been heavily repressed. So when I first visited Gwangju Biennale in '95, I was really surprised or shocked at how underdeveloped the city was. So actually with introduction of Gwangju Biennale, later on this Asia Culture Center, city has been really like growing in comparable manner to before. So out of this intention or effort to take curating as a form of resistance and remembrance, I came to focus on Gwangju People's Art School that was organized between 1983, so 3 years after uprising, and kind of disappearing around the end of 80s. And we got to know about this People's Art School through this archive, 18 May Archive Institution. And Christian briefly touched upon this school in 2016, and I invited Christian to go deeper into this school. So that now let me share some images. So People's Art School, it's school initiated by a group of local artists who already organized and disbanded and reorganized several different kinds of artist collective or associations. So, and the fact that they were in this ongoing process of organizing, disorganizing, reorganizing means actually they were part of the broader this process of organizing and disorganizing. But there is one quite prominent artist behind this school is Hong Songdam Hong, who mostly work with like realistic language and provocation. And he's very eloquent in language and writing. So he laid out a basic curriculum of this art school that takes wood printing as a basic art method, and people would experience art not only by spectatorship but creation. So that began '83, and with actually initiated by participants themselves, it was developing further and further into collective practice. Before there were like many lectures and like skill learning workshop, but there were more like group activities, and this group activity play important role in their also outdoor research. So they were guided by faculty, meaning like local artists, to visit the different communities on the margin. And here what you see is exhibition in Cologne that opened July 2020. So in the middle of pandemic, at the Académie der Kunst der Welt, actually this is only exhibition that opened during that year at the Academy. And so you can imagine also what was organizing process. So Christian Yempeta, actually, he himself never saw the exhibition. So here you see two major work forming the exhibition. One is kind of recalibration of wood print into original plate. So we have only like some hundred print of image or a copy of the print of a copy of of wood prints available, and Christian redrew a selection of this copy of wood print so that it can made into plates. This is what you see, and then other major thread or pillars or stream of the exhibition is this unchronological timeline Gwangju remix, which is adaptation of the work by another roadmap to art education, Africa cluster. Nuning also involved in the another roadmap, like taking their this method of chronology, unchronology, in order to make timeline in collective manner. So it is using again copy. There is a not necessarily originally precious material, but it's copies and copies of things or handwritten captions as we were writing on spot. So intention was with these images, kind of making a proposal for people's monument. So Gwangju actually like full of monument, mostly brought by the authorities and government-related organization. So we thought this actually could be a great monument made by people, meaning the participant of the People's Art School. And other aspect of this exhibition is you can actually take out a plate as you want, and then you can make print by yourself. So it is the attempt to make again exhibition space active habitation, study, and co-working space, which then we wanted to make dynamic with this timeline workshop, but it had to be really like limited in tiny scale because of the pandemic. So I will elaborate more on this by showing you the Gwangju version. So exhibition took place in Cologne was traveling to Gwangju as a part of this May Today project, which is the 40th anniversary memorial project initiated by Gwangju Biennale. So Hwang Chen-hong did an exhibition in Taipei, and then that exhibition also brought in Gwangju. But again, or through remote installation. And and I had a chance to be little part of working process as I'm a Korean passport holder, and still my families are living there, so it was possible and desirable for me to travel there. But this transfer was not actually also due to pandemic, complication of the logistic and date collision, because all the schedule were reshuffled. We couldn't bring the works to Gwangju. So we had to refigure out, we had to reconfigure exhibition, which involved new kind of production. So actually working on it was quite taxing. And before showing the Gwangju exhibition, I want to show you this short video, which can give you a background of where exhibition took place, Asia Culture Center. In particular, I chose a building which is also memorial site of the 18th May Uprising. And this is a news clip which talks about finally official committee is set up to restore the building, which was how do you call, like, rip up by Asia Culture Center to be like cultural venue. And there was a alliance of different organizations closely connected to families of victims of the uprising who were fighting and demanding to restore restoration of building as it was in the 1980. That also, that protest started 2016, and it government finally heard in 2019.
본격적으로 추진됩니다. 오늘 문화체육관광부의 보건전담팀이 현판식을 갖고 본격적인 활동에 들어갔습니다. 김포 기자의 보도입니다.
1980년 5월 계엄군에 맞선 시민군의 최후 항쟁지 옛 전남도청 국립아시아문화전당 건립 과정에서 원래 모습을 잃었습니다. 보다 못한 5월 단체들이 2016년 9월 옛 전남도청 별관 앞에 천막을 치고 농성을 시작했습니다. 문재인 정부 들어 문 대통령이 5.18 기념사에서 복원을 언급했지만 추진 속도는 더뎠습니다. 결국 옛 전남도청 지킴이를 자처한 5월 어머니들은 청와대 앞까지 찾아가 복원을 촉구했습니다. 3년의 농성 끝에 옛 전남도청을 원래 모습으로 되돌릴 복원 추진단이 첫 발을 댔습니다.
옛 전남도청이 5.18 민주화 운동의 가치를 공유하고 소통하는 공간으로 복원될 수 있도록 최선을 다하겠다는 말씀입니다.
옛 전남도청 복원은 내년까지 설계를 거쳐 오는 2021년부터 2년간 진행됩니다. 복원 대상은 옛 전남도청 본관과 별관, 옛 전남경찰청 본관 등 6개 건물 전체입니다. 엘리베이터 등 새로 만든 내부 시설물을 철거하고 시민군 상황실 등을 복원하거나 건물 지붕 등 외부 마감재를 1980년 당시 원래 모습으로 바꿉니다. 현재 철골 구조물이 들어서 있는 본관과 별관 사이 등 건물 간 연결 통로도 복원됩니다. 5.18 단체들과 시민들은 신중한 복원으로 옛 도청이 더 이상 훼손되지 않아야 한다고 강조합니다.
정말 빨리빨리 급하게 하지 말고 시간이 조금 더 늦춰지더라도 정말 이번에는 제대로 해서
3년의 기다림 끝에 시작되는 옛 전남도청 복원 사업. 1980년 이후 훼손을 거듭해온 옛 전남도청의 단순한 원형 복원을 넘어 5.18 민주화 운동의 의미를 되살리는 계기가 될 것으로 시민들은 기대하고 있습니다. KBS 뉴스 김호입니다.
So Asia Culture Center is huge. I'm really bad at the number, so I don't know the square meter, but it's a whole district, or no, it's just smaller than district, but it's a like combination of two villages almost. And what's above the ground is the former provincial office, which citizens occupied over like 5 days during the uprising, and of course people were killed inside a building, but also in front of the building, which you see the fountain where people gather, and then there's a whole like boulevard, like long road, which was also like place for marching, a place of crash as well. And then exhibition, I don't regret, but it was really bad in terms of communication with contemporary artwork visitors, because I chose to exhibit Gwangju lesson in this building. Do you see my arrow? So this used to be a conference hall, and it's built in the international style by Japanese architects during the like colonial time, and it's really beautiful. But it has this historical connotation in colonial time, but also during the uprising, this was used as a storage for arms. So citizens were actually armed as well. I chose this site because it is itself a memorial, and our monument in action proposal could perfectly fit there. So it's a like monument inside of monument, and as you can see, it's directly by the square. So this is also interesting thing about the architecture and building, how it actually divide people or visitor. But this is side note, because the contemporary art experience happened downstairs. You have to go there, and actually to come to this part takes like 10 minutes walk. That's exaggeration, 5 minutes walk. And then there are many people who just drove by this former provincial office, but they don't necessarily go to underground to see the exhibition over there. So this is how it unfolded inside of this building. It's all new materials, but you see the same component. But what was different this time was very close collaboration with local communities. So this time, Christian couldn't draw in card more. It is very time-taking, labor-intensive work. It's almost meditative, which was another reason why it was valuable for people, participants of the school. In the city that was really like under this trauma and intensive political sensitivity. So wood printing gave a time for rest, time for resting. But this time it was produced through 3D printing machine, which is run by cooperative run by young people. They're called Kokiri, and we could print all the available print copies made by participants of the school, which was 221 copies. And then, so here again, where you can take plates and print. I mean, now it was much more dirty and messy. The photo was taken, I think, before the opening. And then timeline was done with a group of like 20 students from the Jeonnam National University, one of the major universities in Gwangju. Here you see one of the like original version of how timeline was generated. So I think another keyword for us that we share is like workshopping. It's such a important and natural method for our curatorial work. And then student of Jeonnam National University, they from Korean literature and humanities. It's an Instagram account they created. And here you can see how they work. We used the 2 floors. This is one of the moments that we had discussion. You can see the front square before the building, and this is how they were working. Downstairs where actually the arms were stored. So symbolically, there's a meaning that instead of arms, and now this culture knowledge is being produced. So where I am now. We just yes. So despite of the limitation of pandemic, and thanks to a relatively mild condition in South Korea, we could do this very intense workshop and have engagement by students. And students managed to have interview with like 11 participants and artists who were part of the faculties, which also became part of the exhibition materials downstairs. So in fact, the Gwangju version managed to come closer to initial intention that me and Christian had to use exhibition space as space for collective study, in which the art making is integral part. By reactivating and restaging People's Art School, that we wanted to show the political social movement is a really ongoing process, and then how art making and learning and co-learning is important dimension of this process, next to being on the street, next to bombing somewhere, interruptions, and then next to like joining actual like official political institutions. And when you zoom in both of these works, one the chronological timeline Gwangju remix, and the other one this reversed remade wood print blocks. Actually, the title is the scenes from everyday, scenes from revolution. But what you see, what I really loved in both of them is such a crazy mixture of highly recognizable political gestures and action, and trivial, funny, everyday, trivial, funny, sad, melancholic, but also witty, kind of everyday scenes or cultural and popular events. So to see in this kind of wholeness of the complex simultaneous occurrences of the thing, which I think also help us to find ourselves as a very singular being, anywhere, everywhere, not as a political revolutionary, again, not as a leader. So to end my talk, I really love this one. This one is something that we got to read toward the end of the exhibition period in Gwangju, and like the wood blocks that you can take and then make prints and then take with you, there was possibility, like facility that you can actually add items into chronologies. So, like, in fact, it's a really like meaningful moment within the exhibition or study space. The man of this age looking very closely, he stayed very long reading this stream of timeline. And then there was this note by anonymous person about 18 May 1980, what he did. And what's written here is that he saw the student in front of the Jeonnam National University were beaten by police, beaten by the soldiers, beaten like beasts. And they were, and he was so scared, so he just like ran away as much as he could down the stream until he arrived in his tiny home. And then a few days after, on 20 or 21st of May, he was hungry because he ran out of rice and oil. So he was starving. So he went into the city to get rice balls and other snacks and juice from this self-organizing unit by citizens, which were distributing this stuff, food and juice. Yes, so this is the end of my talk.
Thank you, Bina, for very, as usual, very thoughtful presentation. Unfortunately, we missing Chen Hung, but so we can just move forward with the discussion. But I already take notes of. There are lots of notes that I've taken while listening to your presentations. An important thing that I took note from Bina's presentation is what you mentioned, Bina, about the eventfulness of image. Recently I read a new book by Karen Stressler. She's an American scholar and also focusing on history of Indonesian photography. And her latest book is very interesting book where she theorized what she called as the demanding images. So, and then she put forward the concept of image event. And in this concept, she emphasized the eventfulness of the image and the position as the catalyst of what she called as the unfolding event. So this approach, she's trying to decenter. I'm just trying to rephrase what I remember from reading the book: the origin and production of the image, the intention and the meaning, and then just focus instead on how the image can actually function as a productive site for disturbances and new arrangements, and how we can see the new arrangements of power, knowledge, and culture. And then it is clear also from not only from your presentation about Gwangju lesson, but also from Darkwen's curatorial projects as well, that it can only make sense to reflect on certain histories if we can remember it through the discourse that happened before and after the actual event. And then it is actually I imagine that Chen Hung presentation would be, perfect to tie together like an umbrella, perhaps, because he's coined this his project as creating like a trance, like in between remembering and forgetting. And then that's also something that you in your own way it is discussed and explored a lot. And then like in your discussion, you're talking about how it is actually the essence of the whole thing is to activate history and then contextualize it within contemporary experience. It's something that I, like what Michael Rothberg referred to as the multi-directional memories. So it's what matters is not only how we remember the past, but how we can actually think about it and then put it in the present as well. And I have and all of this is actually put them together on the same line is can be read as what you said as a unchronological timeline as well, to learn about the unofficial history relations and possible solidarities that might emerge. I have one question because as a start, because we also have questions from the audience that I think it's very interesting as well. My question is, I start with this. We have observed, of course, like so many terms in contemporary art regime, like a participatory turn and then social turn and galleries and museums, all starting to take a more active role, I would say, in changing the function of art as well, to reimagine social reality differently, like and then serving rather than as a space to present art, but also as a space to care and to love as well, and to nurture condition to enable social changes, so to speak. And then So my question is, I'm wondering whether, I'm not sure whether you are already get asked this question a lot, but what does it mean to you to present this social and political projects as art? And then what does it, I'm just wondering whether you can talk more about what is actually enabled by positioning this historical, certain historical cases, you know, in that way. Yeah. So that's, I'm going to start with that question. Maybe both of you can answer that.
Thank you. You wanna begin, Rebecca, or I do first? Um, yeah, I mean, because I entered the field of contemporary art, that's why I am presenting from here, but it's not my primary interest whether this is seen as art or not. Maybe many people would see it as a like culture, cultural activities. But there is something very artistic here, which I appreciate about the contemporary art is its ability to intervene and connect and to rearrange and restage. There is such a freedom. So this freedom and creativity is something that we could cherish. So like, for instance, this People's Art School, many people, I mean, like people who were part of the democratization movement through 80s, 70s and 80s, they kind of knew about this. And Gwangju People's Art School was one of the very first school for this kind of wood printing and people's participation, but it was really like became nationwide movement. So like galvanizing wood print being such a like political visual language. But there was no attention to this People's Art School before we doing this exhibition. So only thing available was actually this. It's a copy of the book. So it's a like catalog made, published in '86, containing the images, which was the one of the like archival items in the 18 May Archive Institute. So it's, yeah, I guess it's always, we are at such moment of time, there was no way to choose just one in the binary. We do art, but non-art. We do politics, but we do meditation. We care about health, but we so much resisting like health centrism. Like no way to just stay in the fixed. And the other question I forgot. Maybe our time for that one too.
Okay, thank you, Bina and Nunin. I think for my practice before and why I'm really interesting about this kind of a social engage or social movement art practice or curation, because of, of course, the historical background is really always influenced by our education systems. But when you slightly to growing up and you realize actually you raise many questions. Yeah, when your government give you this kind of education systems, then but it's luckily, being learning art or when you have art practice, then you will raise the question to doubt many things. So before let's why we did the Republic of People's Exhibition, the Republic Without People Exhibition, because of before the martial law 1987 in Taiwan, actually we all get a very similar education system, and at that time we need to against the communist parties like South Korea to North Korea. And when you're growing up, you find out actually many things is not only one way or one ideologies. Yeah, but meanwhile, we need to raise the question and to find what can be the really way to solve a lot of the social issues. Yeah, as the Bina just mentioned, we do many things together. We are not only artists, we are also the citizens. We are just normal people. So we have our daily life, but as an artist or art people, you have more abilities. Maybe you can raise your opinions and use the many other ways as a you can do the plan and you can education people, you can sharing what you know to everybody. So why we just want to doing it in a good directions. Yeah, so that's why as a I believe many of the you can sensitively we use a lot of storage. Yeah, and we invited the indie bands and music to join, use the trailer, and actually this is also kind of way when we are doing the in the art world terms, you need to engage with the much more audience. But if you think the numbers of audience actually, pop music or other things, other ways is more, you can reach more people, and art like pure art or high art actually only reach like a very narrow persons who have philosophy thinkings and who has other way to thinking. So when we need to engage or we need to talk with the sharing the idea with the many people. So we have to think another way to reverse, or we can create many different ways. Yeah. So this is also one of our intentions, trying to engage with the general publics. Yeah, and as we know, different artists, of course, they have different abilities. And when we doing the Asia Anarchy Alliance, we also have a different workshop or conference. Then we always, talk to different participants. Why we are sharing those idea. Of course, maybe someone who has a different opinion, but we can find the common opinion and trying to discuss with other ones. So that's the way actually it's not only for me actually. It's not only create or curations exhibition, and we're trying to like sharing different thoughts to everybody. Yeah, and that part actually you couldn't find, in the museum or in the gallery. But as these kind of conversations, keep going, actually we can kind of engage to much more people. And so, of course, the education systems is really, really important to us and to everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Pina and Darkan. That's wonderful. I guess with my question, I'm just wondering about what kind of genealogy or critic, institutional critic that you're trying to pose or address, because you both are working in the art institutions, and so I was wondering what kind of space that you are trying to pursue or create through these projects. But I think you have explored that clearly, that you're trying to create a more productively, like an inclusive space, like a thinking space for a wider audience as well. And art is one of the productive means to do that. And while Darkwan is in it, I'm wondering whether you can, there's this question that is directly addressed to you. It is about you from the audience. Is here, I read it out loud. It's interesting that Darkwan used Anarchy Alliance as a linking point to relate to other regions in Asia and to rethink about nation state and identity. How did he come to this idea? That's the question.
Yeah. So the terms of anarchies, actually is like it's from European opinions and political statements, but we borrow the anarchy and use it in Asia. I think that's any other way. Yeah, it's like Bina just mentioned the plate is a copy, and you make another copies. Yeah, so it comes up when you copy several times, and it comes up a new meaning to transforming the ideas, and it can be growing into the localized and localism to Asia. So we're trying to give the terms anarchy and new Asia meanings. This is what we trying to do. And also, as I mentioned, the past 200 years, actually, as the Asian peoples, we all get a lot of new technologies and new philosophy from Europe, from Westerns. Then what we can do, we can develop in Asia, in here. So it's kind of raised a different question or second layer questions. We should do in the alliance, yeah, and together, or we should share in and we should learn in each history. So for the Gwangju the biennial project, or for the Asia Anarchy Alliance, actually we did a lot of like site visitings. So when Bina mentioned about those site and the archive of the May 18th, and we opened a layer and did a lot of research and interview, and that's kind to respect others' cultures and trying to stand from their perspectives, and to have the common way, and maybe I always ask the question by myself or to the other artists, if you we switch our situation and what you will do for the different cases. So this is very interesting thought, and to not to making the same mistake for the history from the history. I think that's a really important part we can share and we can learn.
Yeah, I think the way I'm thinking about anarchy is I think there is a lot of discussion from what I observe in the context of Taiwan particularly, and is the absence of the state, and how this is actually something that is, you know, not special, not exclusive to Taiwan, of course, but in my context as well, that I'm very familiar with in Southeast Asia, is about, the whole thing is about how the absence of the state, it is actually the main question, and about how the workings of arts and culture and other things is actually directed to that. And then we are actually talking about the resourcefulness of the people and the cities as well. So I think there are lots of thinking about like in your projects, I can see is the idea of making like a meta, or imagining like a meta organization or alliance based on that, and not on the based on the resourcefulness of the people, not on the the conventional state relations. And I think there is I'm going to pick one more question from audience as well, that is directed to Bina, but I think this is something that you have already touched on previously with my question. So the question is to Bina. I'm just reading it. I'm interested to know more about how you reflect on the idea of communicating with the contemporary art world. I think because you mentioned about this in your presentation, how can we balance between sensitizing the historical geopolitical context and mediating it to broader audience? And before I give you the mic to answer this question, Bina, I just want to also emphasize what you mentioned at the start of your presentation about curating, the nature of the curating, like how it is like a messy field as well, as you experience, like how in lots of projects you cannot assume like the sole authorship of being a curator, but it's also a collaborative work between lots of people. I think that's also something that is, part of the critique of the towards the art institution as well. Yeah, okay. Now maybe you would like to address this question. Do you?
Yeah, right. How can we balance between? Yeah, just I don't know whether I'm getting it. It feels like there are two questions, in fact, in this one question. But communicating with contemporary art world, I think in general, so far in my curatorial practice, I didn't really manage to work with popularity. But I'm interested in that now, like BTS, South Korean, like K-pop success. My Korean background can give some energy or power about that.
Yeah.
But like
power.
Darko, I think you are already very skilled in this like popular language and popularizing. I don't know what was your kind of audience spectrum. So yeah, in terms of going popular and going viral, I'm interested in that, but I'm not good at that. But I think what I've been focusing on, and which seems to have certain value, is like hetero-organizational field. So a project has always like practitioners from different background and art and non-art. So this is like kind of conscious way of organizing as such, but it's also just like naturally evolving and stemming from that. I want to situate art and culture align with and within broader social movement. So I have many good friends and comrades within field of contemporary art, but also outside of it. Like this Gwangju project, I couldn't do without finding new friendship from Gwangju who are part of the citizens' army in during the uprising, and who are doing current cooperative youth movement or like alternative economies, like journalists. So they are, so like it has been possible because of this relationship, and that also gave me motivation and interest and possibility of involving different actors and different agents. So it creates this, yeah, like sometimes it's like utopian. It's not they are always meeting in same place that is visible. Maybe that was a form of gathering, organizing is most visible to curators or who are organizing that. So that's what I am, I've been really keen on practicing on and on. Yeah, and here question like synthesizing historical geopolitical context. Maybe I skip the second question, hoping it's kind of already implied.
I think the mediation to the broader audience, I can see it is also related to the last question that is addressed to both of you. It is it's about the wood print making. So the question is, I noticed that both in your curatorial endeavor of addressing the notion of resistance and remembrance, wood print making is quite central. Yeah, I think, you know, in one of the artists that Darkwen worked with as well, and of course the People's Art School, do both curators think that has something to do with what I mentioned about the bodily immersive interactive aspect of that wood print contents? Maybe if you can, because I was also wondering about the same thing about you know, the popularity of wood print.
So should I remain?
You can start, Darkwen, because we have 10 more minutes left. So
okay.
Yeah.
For the wooden printing thing, actually, I think because you know the wooden printing was starting from the Middle Ages. Like people they use it to print the Bible and you know and for the regencies, but it's also the methodology to developing the idea from some thought to give into sharing to other peoples. So and in the 18th centuries, or actually Uka printing is still the main way to making the post until 19th centuries. Yeah, but after the things, the photo and the filming technology happens, so everything updated, and now we have an internet. But still, wood printing is the way. We need to really to cut it, and we use our body to sensitive it. So when our I really appreciate about the Bina, she invited the students and going to doing the cooperating and let them to doing in purpose, and they can bring the things not only what they done in the present, but and they also bring the soul and the mind they from the themselves. So it's kind of like a mountain layers all combined together. So that's why I think the printing still is the really key the methodology nowadays. It's not only now we have a video which take a photo shooting that's very easy for everyone, but turn back to the Middle Ages. This still this kind of way we can engage with the audience, and that's still very important. So that's why I get inspiring, by the Korean artist Hong Sun-dan. And when I visited Hong Sun-dan's studio in Gyeonggi Purpose in Gyeonggi-do, and he mentioned to me that's the artist, Chinese artist. I put on my slides. Yeah, Huang Rongchan is his ideal or idol. Really like a tutor to influence him. So actually, I find those kind of combinations, and it's the really key way, and that's why we trying to do display the wood printing in our exhibitions. Yeah, I hope it can answer the audience questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Darko. And Pina, would you like to give final response?
Yeah, speaking of Hong Sun-dan, I hope he's well. He's always really busy with protests on many subjects, and yeah, like about Myanmar as well these days. Yeah, Colombia as well, like as Nuning, you said, everywhere. But he said one of the most remarkable aesthetic characteristic of wood print is its incompleteness. So the way that I read is, it's actually, you can't really judge whether, like, you don't judge in terms of being complete or being incredible. So it kind of defy existing kind of aesthetic judgment. So the works by this amateur participant, non-artists of the People's Art School, they all really intriguing. Rather those works that try to kind of copy existing artworks, it fails. But even the failure is, yeah, I don't mind. And Hong Sun-dan also add wood printing, inviting cooperation in order to properly print. And also, as you are learning to wood print, maybe someone is better in drawing and other one is better in carving, etc. And it, I think, also why it's reproducible. There is certain degree of originality because you actually print with ink. So it's different from laser print, for instance. It's different from digital copy. There is something more indeed physical or material and corporeal in that. Yeah, and then of course in that it's connected to, I think, temporality as well. You see, I mean, yeah, this like seamless production of the things and fastness, you know, as a, how do you call this, like scrolling, you see the images and text as you are scrolling, but printing, if you do, like you have to press hard and then you have to carefully like tear, like put apart, and then how image appears, you get really excited. So there's this like process and discovery. So that's why I think one of the, some of the reason why there's a new interest in wood printing.
Thanks, Bina and Darkwan. I think we've come to the end of the discussion. I think one of the key points, the main takeaway from this discussion is that there are many the works of political imaginations that at work in your projects. And you mentioned about incompleteness, Bina, and I just want to say that there is a lot of reflection available for us all here about thinking about your projects, but also at the same time thinking about how to do it while trying to make a critical reflections to the institution, art institutions that you are inhabiting. And yeah, I think you are all trying to make space or creating space where you can create connections to local histories. And I think that's how I conclude our roundtable discussion today. Thank you, Darkwan and Bina, for presentations and then thoughtful words. And thank you also for the engagement from the audience and Emily and everyone from Framer Frame. So good afternoon. Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.
Good evening.